Robert Craig, just an old man reading from his Bible. I am the old man, and this is the Bible I read from right here. It's the Holy Bible, by which I mean King James Version. Now, past couple of sessions, we've been talking about the New Covenant and how it's not for the church, but it's for Israel. Made that pretty plain, I think, in Hebrews chapter 8. Just a quick review. Hope I can finish up this thing in one session here. Hebrews 8, verse 6. Speaking of the ministry of Christ as a priest after the order of Melchizedek, but now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, better compared to another covenant, you see, which was established on better promises. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. Now, it reminds you once again, this is not the first covenant that he's talking about, not the first covenant in the history of the world. It's the first of two. Now, here was the key verse, verse 8. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. So this, the first covenant was to the nation of Israel. And in this session, we're going to look at, try to shed some light on why that covenant didn't do what it was supposed to do. I want to go to Psalms. Let's go to number 81. David's leader of the song service in the tabernacle when they moved the ark into Jerusalem at the price of a man's life, who reached out and tried to steady the cart. But they brought it in, and David danced naked, and he appointed singers in this tabernacle worship that would be there before the building of the temple. And the head of the singers was Asaph. And Asaph was a man, I want to say he was more than just a song director. He wrote about a dozen of these psalms. And some of them were like this one, kind of a thumbnail sketch of the time of the Exodus. See if this sounds familiar to you. Verse 1. Sing aloud unto God our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the God of Jacob. Take a psalm, and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp, with the psaltery. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel and a law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony when he went out through the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not. I removed his shoulder from the burden. Notice the first person pronoun here. I removed his shoulder. Up to this point in the first 5 verses, the psalmist is speaking about the people and the Lord. I guess you'd call it, I'm not an expert on grammar, but I would say in the second person. But in verse 6, he switches to a new mode. He changes gears, as it were. From this point on, this is the Lord speaking through this inspired psalmist in the first person. Who else could say these things, you might ask yourself? I removed his shoulder from the burden. His hands were delivered from the pots. Thou calledst in trouble, and I delivered thee. I answered thee in the secret place of thunder. I proved thee at the waters of Meribah, Selah. Hear, O my people, and I will testify unto thee, O Israel, if thou wilt hearken unto me. Now, the word hearken in Old English, it's a little different than, it's a shade different than just to hear. It's to hear and heed, hear and pay attention, or hear and really listen. If thou wilt hearken unto me, there shall no strange God be in thee, neither shalt thou worship any strange God. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Open thy mouth wide, and I will fill it. So he's looking back at that time, and now let's look at the Lord as he where he continues to assess the results of what he offered them. Verse 11, but my people would not hearken to my voice. Don't miss that word, voice. I think that is key to the reason the first covenant failed to bear fruit. Remember, he didn't find fault with the covenant, he found fault with them. Verse 12, so I gave them up unto their own heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsels. Oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Israel had walked in my ways. I should soon have subdued their enemies and turned my hand against their adversaries. Now, look at how he labels this people. The haters of the Lord should have submitted themselves unto him, but their time should have endured forever. He should have fed them also with the finest of wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied thee. Do you get the impression that all the potential became a mere could have been? Well, let's go back to the time of the Exodus. Let's go right back to, let's see, just touch a little bit at Exodus 15. This is where they had just crossed the Red Sea. Let's see, about the first 18 verses, 19, 20, 21 or so. It's about songs of praise for the deliverance that they've just received, how they crossed the Red Sea, and the Egyptians tried to follow them, and they were destroyed. And Moses told them he told them this right at the Red Sea. He said, these Egyptians, you're not going to see them anymore. they're done away with. Now in verse 22, so Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days' journey in the wilderness and found no water. When they came to Marah, now remember that verse about I proved them at the waters of Meribah? That shows you that we're in this time period here. They came to Marah, which is Hebrew for bitter. They could not drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? And he cried unto the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them. We just saw that verse in Psalm 81, that he proved them at the waters of Meribah. That's what it's talking about. And said, if thou wilt diligently hearken, this is verse 26, hearken to the voice of the Lord, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. And they came to Elim, where were 12 wells of water, and 70 palm trees, and they camped by the waters. And then they took their journey and went from this place to that place, and they finally came, let's see, in verse 6 of chapter 17, Moses is told to strike the rock, and they get water that way. And chapter 18, Jethro comes and brings his wife and his sons. And in verse 19, Moses is talking, or chapter 19, Moses is talking with the Lord here. See, in verse 2, they were departed from Rephidim and were come to the desert of Sinai and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mount. And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say unto the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Nearly everybody has heard this from the pulpit. If you're church people, you know that Jehovah God told Moses, I bare you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. Everybody knows this, that knows this story. But the preachers and teachers always skip over one key word. They read it, but they don't emphasize it. And I think they really don't hear themselves. Verse 5, Now therefore, if you will obey my voice, indeed, and keep my covenant, then shall ye be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These were the words that he was to speak to the children of Israel. And just take note there and put that in the back of your mind. If you'll obey my voice. Not my words, my voice. Now, skip down here to verse 9. And the Lord said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak unto thee, and believe thee forever. What do you hear when someone speaks? You hear their voice, right? Okay, then there's 3 days of preparation, and they are to purify themselves for this, preparing for this visit from the Lord. Verse 16, And it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount. Remember, he promised that thick cloud in verse 9. A thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by a voice. Now, let's skip down to chapter 20, a few verses here. Verse 1, And God spake all these words, saying, you'll soon recognize this and know what it is. This is in God's voice. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me. Remember how in Psalm 81 he called them haters of the Lord after the results of all this. The haters of the Lord should have listened. Verse 6, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. I can tell you for a fact, the Jews of today mostly don't keep that commandment, because I worked for a Jewish-owned company one time. They took the holy days off. And we oftentimes had to work because we were Gentiles. We were only goyim, but we were that stranger within the gate that they permitted or required to work. 11, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. All right, look at this reaction of the people. This is going to kind of describe what we saw in Psalm 81 in a thumbnail sketch. Verse 18, and all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. I believe that's referring to how they perceived the voice of the Lord. That's part of why they're reacting like this. Verse 19, and they said unto Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God is come to prove you, that his fear may be before you, before your faces, that you sin not. The grammar here indicates kind of to me that if they had taken into themselves what was being spoken by Jehovah God in his own voice, it would have in some manner enabled them to actually keep the law. Now let's see how they react even after Moses' admonishment. Verse 21, and the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where God was. Remember back in verse 9 of 19. And in Psalm 81, I answered thee in the secret place of thunder. Okay. And now this is odd. The Lord reiterates the prohibition against idolatry here, just as he mentioned in Psalm 81. And the Lord said unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. Now we know, if we've seen the movie Exodus, we know that there were 2 tablets, the first written in God's own hand, which we think of as the first giving of the law, which was actually, we'll see right here that from this, what we just saw was the Lord reading the 10 Commandments in his own voice. And I think we're going to have another session. I'm sorry about that, but time is getting long here. We'll go back and we're going to recap this and finish it off next time. But we'll see how and why the first covenant failed. I believe some of you are beginning to see it already. I've been harping on this for 20 years and haven't got much traction from it yet, but we'll see how it turns out. For now, may the Lord bless this reading of His Holy Scripture, and thanks for watching.